Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our weekly podcast. Thank you very much for joining us, whether if it's live or if it's on your own time. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope that you will get so much from this, and you will be spiritually filled, and you will be refreshed completely. So first things first, you may notice something different if you are a regular viewer. You may notice that our environment is completely different than before, and that's because, well, we have some really exciting news to share with you, and we'll do that in a moment. First things first, I would like to introduce my brother here. So, Errol, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
Yeah. How's everything going? How's your day?
Strange.
Strange.
Yeah, strange.
You will tell us
Yeah,
more about
I
that.
think I can share that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will share that with us before we
Yeah.
start. So, my name is Gabriel Perez, and well, we are just so thankful and grateful for all the things that God has been providing for us. I think God is speaking to us for us to go in a certain direction, and we are just very pleased to be led by God, which is always great, right, brother? It's
Yes,
always,
sir.
I mean, it's always the thing to do. Just listen to God and do whatever He wants to do, and
Yes.
He will always provide for everything that you are meant to do. And that's one of the things that we have to be aware of, so that we are not discouraged on the difficult times, because we have to hold to that promise that, well, but God told me that I was going to do this, or that I could do this, so I'm gonna hold to that promise,
Yes.
regardless of the situation.
Yes.
And for that, we would like to just give you our exciting news. And number one, it is related to where we are right now. We have been offered the help of one of my very good friends, actually my best man at my wedding.
Hmm.
I'm gonna give you a little bit of background before presenting him to you. But he is a PhD student, as I am. His name is João Vasco. He's from Portugal. I met him when I just moved here to Sheffield. He was one of my very first roommates when I was living at student accommodation. You know him, Errol, very
Yes,
well
I do.
also.
Yes, I do.
He's a great guy. He's doing, as I said, he's doing a PhD, and he is very dexterous with technology. So that is really good, because if you have viewed if you have viewed it before, you have noticed that sometimes we struggle with our connection. Sometimes the broadcast falls in the middle of everything, and I have to be keeping track of the broadcast while I'm also engaging in the conversation. Now that's a little bit difficult. So he has offered to help us in all the technology related stuff. So I would like to please just ask Joao to just come here and just be in the frame. We like you, that's okay. Don't worry, he's worried about how he looks, but he's great. So he's Joao. He's as I said, he's doing a PhD in the University of Sheffield. He's from Portugal. And how are you? Thank you very much for your help.
That's nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure to actually help with this.
Yeah, are you excited to
Yes, I am.
come into this adventure,
Yes,
this
I am.
project? So thank you so much. Joao is Joao is very good with technologies. He's gonna be helping us, and you will notice some changes. The more we broadcast, you will notice more changes in the broadcast. If you were here since the beginning, you actually could notice that there was like a wait screen where we could be, where we would tell you in how much time we would start the broadcast. So that's just one of the things that we are gonna start doing. So he's gonna be working on the sound quality, on the video quality, and we will be improving more and more. But it's so nice to know that there's gonna be someone there behind us to just keep track of the technology and just
Yes.
make sure that everything is working okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
So thank you so much for joining us, and we will like to start broadcast just by a quick announcement. And this is an announcement that I was going to give on Sunday, but unfortunately we couldn't have a service because of the weather conditions.
Yes.
But this is an announcement that I wanted to give, and I will give next Sunday actually. And this is just about engaging in the church with godly talk. Yeah. And what do I mean by this? Well, I don't know about you, but one of the first things that I wanted when I arrived to Caris at the first time, or when I arrived to any church on the first time, is I wanted to be able to speak with people about God. I wanted to approach someone and talk about the wonders that God has done in my life, how much I'm relying on Him, on the difficulties that I'm facing, and I really wanted that, because I noticed that I couldn't really do that on my normal daily life. Yeah, it's not like you can go to a co-worker and tell him, hey, I've been praying about this, and I've been on the waiting room and I'm getting a little bit desperate. It's not that you can talk about that. Similarly, you cannot go and say to a co-worker or a family member that is not a Christian something like, hey, I'm so glad God answered a prayer that I was praying for a lot. He gave me this and He provided with this. And one of the things that I really wanted from the church is to be able to arrive and be able to share that with people and be able to engage in conversations like in the tea time after the sermon or before. And I would really like us to encourage at our own church, if that's Caris or if that's any of your church, I would like to encourage you to do more godly talk, to engage more in godly talk. Yeah. I mean, it is always really nice to catch up with everything that is going on in our lives, to catch up with the daily lives. But if we are going to just engage in normal conversation, we can do that anywhere outside the church, right?
Yes.
We can just talk about anything with people outside church. I think we should take the opportunity while we are at church to speak about God, to speak about Him, just to, let's say at the end of the service, just approach someone and say, hey, I'm really happy because God answered this prayer, and I was praying about this lot, and then finally I saw the light and I went through. And so I would really like to encourage you and encourage us also to just engage in godly conversation. What do you think, brother, about this?
I absolutely agree. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need that time. We need that time to talk about God and His goodness and His mercy and His grace towards us. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that would be a nice thing for us to do. So now to what we came to do, and it's our topic of today. Now, normally, as you may know, our midweek podcasts, the topic depends on whatever preach we had on the previous Sunday. But since we didn't have a service, what I wanted to do today is actually talk about what we are going to hear next Sunday. Okay. Yeah. So I think that will be nice because that will give us a nice preparation. That will give us a good context to be able to arrive. Even if some of you enthusiasts want to read some more about it and get ready, you be ready for the preach, that would be fantastic. So the topic of today is the power of our words. Yeah, and I think that's very, very, very interesting because sometimes I feel that we undermine what words can do in our lives and in other people's lives. Yeah, and I think it's really important for us to know it. So I would like to first, brother, ask you, could you read for us, please, James 3, 3 to 5? This part is where James is talking about, is giving a metaphor of what the tongue, referring metaphorically to our words, can do to a person's life. And so I would really like us to read James 3, 3 to 5a. Yeah, so if you
verse 3, 1 to 5.
James chapter 3, from verse 3 to 5.
Okay, from verse 3 to 5. Just bear with me a second. Okay, now it says this. It says, now if we put bits into the mouths of horses so that they obey us, we direct their whole bodies. And consider ships, though very large and driven by fierce winds, they are guided by the very small rudder, wherever the will of the pilot directs. So too, though the tongue is a small part of the body, it boasts great things. Consider how a small fire sets ablaze a large forest.
Yes, absolutely. Powerful words from James, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting how such a small part in our body can just move our whole bodies and can determine our future, right? So, what I was going to ask you, brother, is how powerful do you think are our words in our daily lives?
Sure. That's a really good question. And I'd have to start with this saying, because as you were talking there, this came to mind. We used to say, and I think maybe kids still say it now, but we used to say as kids, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now that was a very, very common. Everyone used to say it.
I had the Spanish version too, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So it's international then.
Well, I think it's an international thing, yeah.
Well, not true. Absolutely not true, because there are people, and including myself, where your school experience, you only had to have somebody say, or a teacher, indeed, say to you, or you'll never amount to nothing.
Yes.
And there are people today who are even older than I am, and I'm ancient, still suffering from that same thing, and then they start beat themselves up. So
Absolutely.
those words had a huge effect on their life. Certainly had a huge effect on my life.
Absolutely,
But by the same token, I remember when I came into the church as a new Christian, and there were people who said to me, God's got great plans for your life. And it kind of stuck with me, and that was so it sort of cancelled out that negative side of things. So you can use it for good, or it can be used for bad, but it certainly it can have a huge effect on male, female, young and old. It doesn't matter.
I would go as far as saying that words can determine your destiny, and that's actually biblical. When Jesus cursed the fig tree, Jesus determined the destiny of the fig tree.
Yes.
Jesus said, "You will not bear fruit. You will die." And what happened to the tree? It literally died.
Yes.
So I would go as far as saying that words can affect our destiny, and this is I think this is for us to reflect and have some respect for them and be wise to use them. In Proverbs, there is like at least 3 or 4 verses that say that the wise man knows how to use his words, and that's because the wise man knows how powerful it is. Yes. So I remember, and coming from a Latin family, a family where words are flying all the time around, all the time in conversations, and it's just very intense type of word conversations. There's one thing that we had similar to what you said, and used to say, they used to say, well, I mean, words cannot do anything to me, but punches or anything else that can really hurt me. But that was not true at all. You know why? Because I can still remember things that were said to me in anger. 10 or 20 years ago. And they still affect me sometimes if I let it, of course, because in the name of Jesus Christ we can break any of those curses that we have been told. But I can't help to just think about those things sometimes.
Even if the person's apologized, it's still there.
Even if the person has apologized, even if the person didn't mean it, even if the person doesn't mean anything to you, it still has power.
That's right.
And we have to be aware of that. It's very important. It's very interesting that you touched that thing, that even if the person has apologized to you, because sometimes words can destroy relationships completely.
Absolutely.
And sometimes in anger we can say something to our children, to our spouses, to our family, and we may feel bad after, and then we'll apologize. But maybe because of our personalities, we will do it again, and we will do it again. Well, let me tell you something. An apology is like a joke. The more you say the same one, the less effective it is. And as much as we would like to be like Jesus Christ, we have to admit that sometimes it is difficult to just completely heal a hurt. And words have the power to drill and penetrate very deep into our hurting.
Absolutely. And I'm reminded of what my wife, she hasn't said it to me a lot, but she said it a few times, and it's something that stayed with me, and it stayed with me for a long time. It's very simple but very effective. And she always says, be careful what you say, because you can't take it back. And so you go, and then you don't say anything, because that's absolutely true. It can last a long time, and even when you've apologized, the hurt is still there. The person is still thinking about it.
Absolutely. So I think one of the ways that I have, just divided this podcast is in 3 main points. 3 main things that words affect. The first one I would say is how they determine our thoughts. Words can determine what we think about. Let me give you a very quick and simple example.
Go on.
If I tell you about what I ate today and how delicious it was, and about all the food and all the ingredients and everything, I promise you that after you leave this house, you will be thinking about food. And sometimes we don't realize that, and that's one of the ways that marketing works. Marketing triggers. That it puts small words in your head that will trigger thoughts, that will trigger a complete network in your head. I'll give you an example. There is there is a Nobel winner, Nobel Prize winner. He's a psychologist, and he's just done a lot of research in cognitive behavioral things. Yeah,
Okay.
and he gave an example. He said, "Let me show you something," and he showed four letters: S, O, a blank space, and P. Yeah, and said, "Fill the word." The first thing that came to mind to most people was soup. That was because the experimenter was speaking a lot about food.
Right.
Other people filled the gap with soap.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's because that group was talked about washing, about cleaning products, about cleanness, about tidiness.
Yes.
And that was just to demonstrate how small words can trigger a lot of thoughts in your head, and that can determine what do you see, what you are thinking about all the time. Yeah? That's why sometimes when we engage too much in a TV program, for example, on a book, on a video or whatever, sometimes after that we are still thinking a lot about it, and we cannot just help to just be affected by what that is.
Yes.
That what we saw, what we read. So one of the very important things that words can do is they can affect our thoughts, and it's really interesting how they affect them, because a single word can just trigger a whole network of words in our head. That's why if we hear violence, if we hear mean words to us, if we hear cursing, that's gonna trigger thoughts in our head, and those thoughts are gonna determine how we feel, and those feelings are gonna determine what we do, and at the end, what we do is what leads us to sin. So words have a very powerful triggering effect. I just think it like this. Think it as a web spider, as a spider web. You touch one part of the web, but all of it moves, and that's what words can do. A very small tick can just move the whole network in our heads. Yes. What do you think about this, Fred?
No, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, it's a bit like when they talk about a mustard seed. It's a tiny little thing, but yet it grows into something huge and something massive.
Absolutely.
So in terms of just using a word, and if it was a hurtful word, it does have an effect, because you feel the pain, you feel it.
Yeah. And for example, if someone, I don't know about you, but I had some really tough teachers that used to say, old school teachers that used to say really mean things when you would not perform well. And if a teacher used to tell you when you were little that you did bad, that you were a naughty kid, that you were bad, those thoughts would stick with you the whole day, and you would feel like that the whole day. Yeah.
I mean, were they doing it deliberately to have that long-term effect on you? No, I'm not sure whether they were aware of how much damage they were actually causing. But we remember, don't we? We remember the teachers who didn't like us, and you go away with that idea that person doesn't like me.
Absolutely, and not only that, you start to believe the things that they said to you.
Which is worse. Yeah.
If someone tells you you're a good-for-nothing guy, or you will not do anything in your life, that sticks with you.
Yeah.
That's it. And let me tell you something. Most of us are still trying to prove unconsciously some of those people wrong.
Yes.
Sometimes we act just to try to prove those people wrong.
But it can manifest itself in lots of different ways as well, because sometimes people's actions, either they'll start showing off or acting up even more, because they'll end up being, let's just use the analogy of the classroom, then they start acting like the class clown, because they've already told them that, look, listen, you're not going to amount to anything anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So that person sort of rebels, because that's the only way they know how to deal with the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we know that, what you do in your first years of school can determine what you will end up doing your whole academic career.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Now, the second thing is that our words, our tone, our words can affect our actions, and that's ultimately linked with our feelings and our thoughts. Yeah. So our thoughts determine our action, our feelings, and our feelings determine our actions.
Sure.
So at the end, the tongue has a really powerful effect on what we do. So let me ask you something, brother. If you go to church and someone prays for you and someone tells you encouraging words, will you be feeling better, and will you probably do better next week? If someone reminds you of your anointing, if someone tells you that you are going to do great things in the name of Jesus Christ, will you perform better next week?
I'd like to think that I would. I'd like to think that that would be on my mind and that indeed I would do that. But can I just throw a bit of a caveat in,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
there a little bit? Sometimes, and I'm not looking at anyone I know, I may not even be talking about me, but certain individuals, I've had this said to me before, that certain individuals want certain people to pray for them.
Yeah.
I think that that's quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Because is that not a reflection of that person's character? Particularly when you think about it in the church, when we're supposed to have that Christ-like character.
Yeah, yeah.
Because by the fruits you will know them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's interesting. But yes, just to come back to that point, absolutely, yeah. You know, I'm thinking, well, somebody said to me, you're going to do great things. You're going to travel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how they can actually start to prophesy. A word of encouragement can very quickly become a prophecy. Yeah, and that's because those words will encourage you and will give you the motivation to do stuff, and they will eventually become prophetic.
Yes.
So it's always good to prophesy for people, to tell, encourage. You know, there are two different things, because some people don't like this, and there is one thing. There is encouragement, and there is just what is this called when you flatter someone? Flattery. Yeah. There is one thing which is flattery, patronizing flattery, and there is encouraging words. Yeah? So we are not saying that you must always say, you know, good things about everything, but it's about focusing on what the good things are. For example, if you see a person, any person will have good traits and bad traits, good characteristics, bad characteristics. It is not about just not seeing the bad characteristics and just, you know, transforming any bad characteristic into any good trait. It's about focusing on the good traits. If a person has maybe some problems with discipline, but he's a really good it's a very good artist, you focus on the good things, on the artistry, and then you know how to deal with the other part in a different way. But it's not about flattery. It's not about, you know, saying lies about people. Like, you know, if someone comes and prays for me and say, oh, you will be a great singer and you will be in great shows and operas, I will say, come on, my singing is terrible.
Well, but it's not inconceivable, because you never know what can happen, because there are. Well, let me just talk about this, just because you've made that point. There is a singer, world famous singer. His name is Donnie McClurkin, and now Donnie McClurkin can only sing when he gets on the stage. He actually can't sing the rest of the time. His vocal cords, everything just shuts down. It's something to do with some accident. So, you know, God can use anyone for anything, really.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah, maybe you might want to do a solo piece for us.
Maybe.
Church, yeah.
Let me give you then another example. If someone comes and tells me you're going to become a professional rugby player, then I will say, I don't know about that.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not. If someone tells me you're going to grow 50 centimeters in height, highly unlikely.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's always focusing on the good, encouraging people. Yeah. So one of the examples that I wanted to give, brother, as how our feelings are affected by that. I was watching this very interesting interview with Matt Groening. Do you know who Matt Groening is?
No.
He's the creator of The Simpsons. Yeah.
Oh right, yes.
It's very popular show.
I was watching The Simpsons tonight.
Yeah, very funny show. Probably sometimes not the most biblical, not the best thing to watch, but it's a really entertaining show, and it's a popular and famous show. Yeah, it is the most successful animated series of all time. Yeah, no doubt about that. The numbers don't lie. Yeah, so Matt Groening was being interviewed about his life. You know, this type of documentaries that they do to famous people, like how did it start, what were you when you were a kid, and how did you what struggles did you face? You know, those type of interviews. Yeah. So they were asking him, so how did you used to be when you were little? And he said, well, I used to be in the TV all the time. I used to be almost addicted to TV. I used to watch TV in all my free time, and sometimes almost, you know, sometimes I would be naughty, and when I should be doing my homework, I would be watching TV. Yeah. So obviously, his parents tried to talk to him. They took him to the school counselors and everything. And everyone was saying to him, to Matt Groening, you know, your life is leading to nowhere. You are wasting your life. They told him constantly, you are wasting your life. You are wasting your life. Well, Matt Groening said, I personally didn't see it as I was wasting my life. I saw it as research because I wanted to see what TV lacked, what it could not offer to the viewers. Yeah, Well, whether you believe that or not, that's debatable. But the point is that he became the writer of the most successful TV show, animated TV show in all history. Yeah,
Right.
he's accomplished, and I think he can, with pretty much confidence, say that he was not wasting his life because
Right.
he achieved something really good. Yeah. Anyways, the thing that struck me during the interview is that he said, "I feel that I have proved them wrong." Yeah. He said, "But sometimes I still hear those voices. You are wasting your life, and I can get them. I can't get them out of my head."
Wow.
So just look at this. Look how powerful words can be. They can actually override actions or evidence. Yeah. So he can now claim to say that he's the most successful writer of animated series of all time, but he can still hear those words, and those words still affect him. He's still thinking, well, probably I was wasting my life. And that's how powerful sometimes words can be for us.
Yes.
There are people that are still haunted by the things that they were told when they were little kids.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I know, unfortunately, I know many of those people, and
I'm one of them.
The more you try to encourage them, you do as much as you can, but you cannot sometimes override those words that were told them, and we have to realize that that same power, yeah, we can in some way determine someone's destiny. If we encourage them, if we say good words or if we say bad words, we can actually affect a person's destiny.
Yeah, I'm always mindful that when I'm speaking on the platform, that it's aspirational, motivational. Yes, we're talking about Jesus Christ, and we're talking about His blood and His mercy and His grace.
Yeah.
But sometimes a preach can come across as kind of legalistic, or as if like you're talking about that individual person and they're kind of feeling shame or embarrassed about something. So I'm kind of mindful of motivating and encouraging and using words that would encourage them, because like we've talked about the life and power in the tongue. So it have an enormous effect on someone if you're not saying it in the right way. It's not what you say. One of my favourite sayings. It's not what you say. It's how you say it.
It's how you say it, with what gentleness you can say it also. Yeah, because we can go back to the Gospels, and Jesus he used to tell people when they were wrong. Yeah, but he had always his ways. He had always the way to say it, and the way that you say something matters a lot. Yeah. You can try to say the exact same message than another person, but just because you said it in a different tone, with a different perspective, you can completely get the wrong message.
That's right.
And sometimes that's the ability that some great speakers have. Sometimes great public speakers, they have the way of saying things that can really reach the people whenever we say them in encouraging ways. Yeah. So we are going towards the end. I wanted to analyze the story when Jesus curses the fig tree. So if you, brother, would like to read that story for us, it is in Matthew 21:18, and I think this is really important because sometimes, and I include myself in this, sometimes we curse objects and we think that that's not going to have any effect. It's like, well, I'm saying it to a table, I'm saying it to a computer, I'm saying it to the car. Well,
don't say it to my car.
It's
no car. Matthew 21.
Matthew 21, 18 to 21.
Okay. 18 to 21.
The picture.
Yeah. 18 to 21. Okay. Early in the morning, as he was returning to the city, he was hungry. Seeing a long fig tree by the road, he went up to it and found nothing on it except leaves. He said to it, "May no fruit ever come from you again." At once the fig tree withered. 20. When the disciples saw it, they were amazed and said, "How did the fig tree wither so quickly?" Jesus answered them, "Truly I tell you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but even if you tell this mountain, be lifted up and thrown into the sea, it will be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really powerful example of how our words matter even to objects. Yeah, and this I'm not trying to mystify things. Yeah, or try to say like, yeah, I mean you can make chairs levitate if you tell them to levitate, but we have to understand that just as prayer has influence in our atmosphere, our words when we curse objects, that has a powerful effect in the atmosphere. Yeah, and we can see how Jesus cursed this tree, and it withered. Yeah, there is a really interesting experiment, brother. I don't know if you have heard about the experiment where you have two identical plants. Yeah, and while they are growing up, you put some classical music next to one, and you put some rock heavy metal music to the other one.
Right.
And one of them doesn't grow as well, and actually one of them eventually withers down and dies.
Wow.
And that's the one that you put the rock music to. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a very well-known experiment. But someone else recently tried the same experiment, but instead of music, they tried good, encouraging words and cursing. Yeah, swearing. Yeah. So essentially,
the same person cursing and swearing.
it was the same person recording. He recorded some phrases, some words, some encouraging words, and he put those to one plant, and then some bad words, curse words, swear words to the other one. Yeah, he did the same exact same experiments, but with words instead of music. And guess what? The one that had the bad words withered down.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it is amazing, you know. It appears to be something taken out of a fantasy book, but it is true. There is evidence there. And it's important for us to realize that whenever we curse even objects, that has a powerful effect in our atmosphere. Let me ask you something. Have you had one of those days where everything goes wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had many of those.
How about many of those? So, let me ask you something. When the first bad thing happens, do you say to yourself, oh, this is going to be one of those days? Oh, this will get worse.
I've been known to say that.
I bet the car is not going to work. Oh, I bet I'm going to be late. I bet there is something going to be... Well, you're actually releasing that into the day. And that's why the day gets worse sometimes. Because we actually release that into the day. Yeah?
Yes.
I've tried sometimes the opposite. When something starts going wrong in my morning, I say, oh well, I'm sure everything will be better in the name of Jesus Christ, and I pray that everything will go better. And some of those days have gotten actually better. They have not gone through that, down spiral, horrible day where everything goes wrong. And I think it's just, again, it's very important for us to know that our words are released into the atmosphere, and whether we are saying bad things to people or to objects, it does matter.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It does matter. The same Jesus said, if you have enough faith and you tell a mountain move, the mountain will move. This is metaphorically, but it is saying if you have faith and you proclaim it with your words, it will be done. Yeah, and it will do as you say.
Amen.
So, brother, have you? What do you think of the power of words towards objects? Are you sometimes tempted to sometimes just if I break in anger?
You mean if I go past and I'm not even got any shoes on? This happens quite a lot. I'm not telling you what I say. Well, I don't know. Actually, no. I'm speaking hypothetically here. No, this has happened where I've walked past the table or I've banged my foot, my toe, and you go, oh!
And suddenly the table is the guilty.
Yeah,
guilty one.
yeah. Or I'll punch the door because I banged into it.
Yeah. Well, we all have been there. Yeah, and sometimes we don't realize that has a power. It only makes us more annoyed. Actually, it only try to make us have a grudge against the object, which is totally.
It's not the object's fault. It's how you deal with it, isn't it? I mean, this is a good lesson because it's ironic that you're actually talking about this because today I was on a course and this was a speed awareness course.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people know what a speed awareness course is. When you're being going a little bit too quick and then you're penalised, you pay your £90 and then you go to a 4-hour course. Anyway, so they were talking about, to cut a long story short, they were talking about habits that you've formed as a driver.
Yeah.
That when you're in your car, you get angry and you get frustrated by another driver in front, and then you start to speed and what makes you do it.
Yeah.
And it came down to this whole thing about your attitude towards, when you're in a vehicle and how you're going to behave from now onwards. And first of all, I came in that place really sort of angry, perhaps because I paid my 90 quid and I wasn't very happy about that. And I thought it was just a rip-off. But by the end of it, I thought to myself, no, I will start to think about some of those things that were taught tonight.
Yeah.
In the same way that you've been talking about the tongue, and it's only when you start to process it and you start to think about it, then you want to put it into action.
Yeah.
So the next time I bang my foot, I might just say, "Oh, thank you, Jesus. Everything's good. Everything's fine."
Yeah.
I hope.
And actually, you'll see how even those good words have an actually like analgesic effect. Like, will make you feel like, oh, at least emotional, will make you feel better because you are not, cruising your way around or just just saying things. So I think it's an encouragement for us just to always be very aware of our words. Our words can affect completely a person's life.
Yeah.
Especially, I would say, especially those who have a public speaking position. People whose career involve a lot of speaking, I think I would encourage them specifically to just watch their words and always know that they have very powerful effect. I mean, not to go further, words have shaped our history as a humanity. If we go back sometimes to the best leaders in history, it was not that much maybe their military intelligence. It was not maybe how smart they were with economics or how clever they were with politics. It was about their words, how well they used words, how they could inspire nations just to go to take certain directions.
And by the same token, and talking of leaders, I mean, there is a leader in America right now who came out and said something that has become very controversial, referring to countries as SH1T countries.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the backlash from that, and that's something that's going to stay with him for a long time.
It is.
And people will remember because people from around the world are actually saying something. So yeah, great leaders have come out with great words. Nelson Mandela used to have, some of the things he used to say were fantastic.
Yes,
I have a dream speech by Martin Luther.
Very powerful.
Very powerful. So you've got the negative and you've got the positive.
You've got also other negative examples, like for example Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler. They may not have been the best military geniuses, but their words have such an impact in people that they created a lot of followers. They gained themselves a lot of followers, and they could inspire people to do whatever, whether good or bad.
Yeah, very influential. Yeah.
So I mean, I remember seeing a quote. I cannot quote it literally, but I just remember that the message of that quote was something like, "Words can shape the course of our destiny, but not only ours, but the people that we are surrounded by." Destiny. So all those people's destiny can also be affected. So I guess we are just about to close, and it's just again a final word of encouragement is just be gentle with your words. Be careful with what you speak, because what you speak actually can also become your reality. Someone says there, be careful with what you wish for, because it may come true. That's right. And that's very true for our words. Be careful what you speak about yourself or what you speak about other people, because that has a lot of power.
Yes.
Yeah. So any final word, brother, for the words?
Yeah, just I think forming a good habit. So when you're about to say the negative, try and turn that negative into a positive. So practice that. I don't know how many times you have to say it. Somebody once told me that you form a habit after 21 times. 21 times of saying something. I don't know if that's true or false or what, but
I guess it's the repetition thing.
Repetition, So practice that, and that's what I'm going to take from this, that I'm going to try and put into practice.
Absolutely. So, thank you very much for joining us. We hope this is of blessing to you. So remember, be gentle with your words. Go ahead and preach the good word. Be encouraging. And whenever we are tempted to just say things that we may regret someday, let's take a deep breath and just think and reflect. How will these words will affect my current situation or another's current situation. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us. We are very glad that you are with us. Leave us a comment if you like. If you are watching this in the recorded version, please leave a comment to us. And another thing is, do we have a no? Oh, sorry. No, never mind. So just a quick announcement. We have service next Sunday
Yes, we
in
do.
Christ normal time,
Normal
4 o'clock p.m. Yeah.
Gabriel's preaching.
So yeah, please. It would be very nice if you go
Come and
there.
give some support.
Yeah, please come and just feel free just to come and have a look, see how you feel. If you've never been into Caris or you have not been in a long time, just come with us. You will surely be very well welcomed.
Yes. Yeah. We start at 4 o'clock.
We start at 4 o'clock. Come here for fantastic worship with Josh Tipper.
Yeah.
Good preaching, good word, and excellent fellowship. Everyone is great. Everyone is so warm and welcome.
Yeah.
Just please come with us, and we'll be happy to see you there. So, brother, would you like to pray for us to end this? Thank you.
Thank you, Lord. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity that we can pray. We thank you, Father, for everything you're doing for us in our lives. And we've spoken tonight about the tongue and life in the tongue and how powerful that is, Lord. And we just pray, our prayer, Lord, is that we would be mindful of how we speak and how what effect it can have on others, Father. And Lord, we do maybe that extra unction of your grace and your strength within our lives, Lord. Just help us to be mindful of the life that we've chosen, that we would continue to walk that life that we've been called to walk, Lord, and we would behave in a way that people would look upon us and then see the difference and say, I want to be like that person, Lord, and they would look upon us and they would see Jesus Christ. And we're so thankful, Lord, that you're imparting to us wisdom, you're imparting to us strength, Lord. I just pray for Caris Church. Continue to bless us and strengthen us. Though we're few in number, Lord, you are in the midst. And Lord, we know that the church will grow. Even this podcast, Lord, is making a difference, Lord. While ever we're lifting your name up, Lord, you're making a difference in our lives. Bless our families far and wide. Continue to bless everyone in Sheffield, South Yorkshire, Father. And let this podcast go out and touch hearts and minds. This we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you on either next Sunday or on the next Wednesday.